Hey there, how there, ho there, Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Stone Cold Hockey season video. We are done the WHA seasons. We're done the first few seasons for Stone Cold Hockey. Now let's go to 1974-75. Not the WHA version, but the real version, the NHL version. Haha. You see, there are 18 teams in the NHL, not 32 like we have nowadays. So let's go. Let's go take a look at it. You got the New York Rangers in '75, who in real life got bit in 11 seconds in the preliminary round by the New York Islanders. Of all freaking teams, it was the Islanders. The Philadelphia Flyers, the defending Stanley Cup champions at the time of this, this season. And that's the team I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do the Flyers from 1975 because not only is Bernie Perrant a star goalie, but I want to see how good Bill Barber is. The New York Islanders, a team that just came in. This is their third season in the NHL, and yet they pulled off a massive wave. Not only by taking out the Rangers in the preliminary round, but by going in the quarterfinals, taking out Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh was decent in the 1970s fully. But yeah, they were down 3-0 to the Penguins, and then came back to win the next four to go to the semis against the Flyers. Lose the first three games, come back to force game 7, but the Flyers won series. And then you got the Atlanta Flames, not the Atlanta Thrashers, the Atlanta Flames. The Flames. Yeah, that's right. Atlanta had a hockey team in the deep south. Confederate flags were flying sometimes at arenas. At the arenas. It just didn't seem to be good at times. So yeah, so the Atlanta Flames were around. The Minnesota North Stars, very decent team in the 70s, ended up merging with the Cleveland Barons to still be the Minnesota North Stars, but getting the Cleveland players. The St. Louis Blues, who were 5 years away from, who 5 years earlier got to the Stanley Cup for the third straight year, but lost to the Bruins thanks to Bobby Orr. The Kansas City Scouts, one of the newbies in this league, as you know, Kansas City got a hockey team. A lot of people know that the football team, the Chiefs, and the MLB team, the Royals. But people forget that Kansas City had a basketball team called the Kansas City Kings at the time, too. So Kansas City, at one time, for a few years, had all four major sports. You know, the Kansas City Scouts. That logo, I thought, was a two-headed dog, but no, it was that statue. Shows how much I know. Of course, Kansas City would move on to Colorado, and then they went to New Jersey. Atlanta would go on to Calgary. The Chicago Blackhawks, who were dominant a few years ago, going to the finals, but they have been also Rams. And the Vancouver Canucks, who have still got their blue and green unis on. In the Adams division, you had the Boston Bruins, who were pretty close to being fantastic. They were the 1974 runners up in the Stanley Cup, losing Game 6 to the Flyers. And of course, a few years before Don Cherry stepped in. The Buffalo Sabres, who came out of freaking nowhere. Wow, they built on it. 5 years ago, they were an expansion team, and then they got to the finals thanks to some great playing. They actually did well and actually took care of Montreal, which was not easy to do. The California Golden Seals still around, and then soon they would become the Cleveland Barons, who would soon merge with the Minnesota North Stars. And of course, Canada's team, well, some of Canada's team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who were not really the best in 1975. They weren't that bad, but they weren't that good either. The North Division, the LA Kings, still with rookie Fashion being good. And this was, I believe, the year before Marcel came. I think Marcel Dion was still with the Red Wings. That's right. This was the last season before Marcel Dion would head to Los Angeles because he hated Detroit with a passion. Yeah, rookie Fashion was a pretty good goalie for the Kings. Detroit were none of the dead things. They only made the playoffs twice in an 18-year period in the 70s and 80s, which was unlike the 90s and 2000s, where they almost made it every year. The Montreal Canadiens, Ken Dryden coming back from his 1-year sabbatical. I guess he didn't think he was paid enough. That he finally got the bag and all that. The Washington Capitals, the second newest team in the NHL. Putting a hockey team in the U.S. capital instead of the Canadian capital, like, seriously. And I thought Gary Bettman was pathetic. But anyway, the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. Twice they were close to bankruptcy. They were close to bankruptcy by 1984, and Mario Lemieux almost went to another city. Anyway, we're gonna do the schedule and all that. Our first Philadelphia, we're doing the Philadelphia Flyers, so we're not going to be on opening night. California shocks St. Louis 5-3 as Al Simmons takes down John Davidson before he was a New York Ranger. Cal goes by Dave Gardner, uh, Williams, Larry Petit, and Dave Gardner. Cardinals goes by Unger, Pierre and Bill Collins. Chicago, Detroit. First game was a tie for 4. Mike Pfizer for Chicago in that against Jim Rutherford. Shocking that they didn't put Tony O in. Detroit goes by Mickey Redmond. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. Nick Libett. Danny Grant, the former Minnesota North Stars icon, and Luke Head. Chicago goes by Dennis Hall. You know, Bobby was in the WHA. Cliff Coral, Darcy Rhoda, and Jim Papin, the former Leafy. Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Minnesota wins 4-2. Pete Lopresti beating Gary Innes. Pittsburgh goes by Abda Marco and McNamara. Minnesota goes by Dean Martineau, Bill Goldsworthy, the Pride of Waterloo, Dunlop, and then Goldsworthy again. Others Montreal tied 3-3 as Buddy LaRock and Billy Smith tied. Montreal goes by Bob Gainey, Larry Robinson, Kitchener, and Jacques Lamaire. Islander goes by Billy Harris, Billy McMillan, both former Leafs, and Jerry Howitt, not a former Leaf. Washington's first game was a complete disaster, 14-1. Belhammer, good humor, as they call him in French. Well, Washington actually was down 13-0, but a goal by Lessig. And no Rangers. There were 4 Rangers with 2 goals. Jerry Butler, Sheldon Rattel, Raj Gilbert, and Ted Irvin. Break the walls down! Yes, that is the father of Chris Jericho. By the way, 1975 was when Rattel would be traded to Boston, so this was the year, his last full year with the Rangers. Who else scored goals? Greg Polis, the Police. Steve Vickers, former Calder Trophy winner. Rick Middleton, yeah, he was a Ranger. Ben Wilson, Walkachuk, Kitchener, and Bill Fairburn. Kansas City's first game was a 4-1 loss to Toronto. Favel beat Michel Place. Kansas City got a goal by Courteau, but Bob Neely, Dave Keon, who was still in the NHL, not the WHA, Jim McKinney, and Blaine Stoughton, who was still in the NHL before going to the WHA. Atlanta, Vancouver, Flames lose 3-1 on opening night. Smith beats Meyer. McCreary for Atlanta, but Vancouver, 2 goals by John Gold and Jerry Meehan, the former Leaf. The 10th, Boston Buffalo. Boston wins 4-3. Ken Broderick over Roger Cruiser. Boston goes by Espel, Hodge, O'Reilly, and Bobby Orr. Buffalo goes by Rene Robert, Danny Gare, and Richard Martin. So we're going to host LA. And Bernie Perlot will start against Rogie Vachon. Gary Edwards is backup for LA. Wayne Stevenson and Bobby Taylor are backups. LA, here's who their non-goalies were. Bob Nevin, the former Leaf and Ranger. Mike Murphy, future Leafs head coach. Dan Maloney, future Leaf. I would say Kitchener, but no, he's not. That's Don Maloney, who was a former Kitchener Ranger. Butch Gorham, the man with the big helmet, going to the New York Islanders in the 1980, what they called the trade deadline, which made the trade line big. You are winning the first Finnish star in the NHL. Bob Barry, future Canadian head coach. Tom Williams. I don't think that's the same Tom Williams who was with Washington and an American. Frank St. Marcia, former Blue farmhand. Don Kozak, Bob Murdoch, future head coach of the Jets. Mike Corrigan, Gene Carr, former Blue. Terry Harper, former Canadian. Neil Komodowski, Sheldon Kengitzer, Kitchener. Yep, Sheldon was a Kitchener Ranger. Look it up, people. Larry Brown, Vic Fedesky, Dave Hutchinson, the former Leaf. And that's it. Flyers are non-goalies. Reggie Leach, the Riverton rival. Rick McLeish, great player. Bill Barber, Kitchener. Bobby Clark, our captain, who was living with type 1 diabetes and managed to do well with hockey. Ross Lonsberry, Bill Clement, who would go on to have the Stanley Cup winning goal in real life, and was a great commentator for ABC's broadcast with Gary Ford, and also on ESPN NHL 2K5 for the PS2, which I played the shit out of. Gary Dornhofer, future hockey commentator, this time for CBC, not ABC. Andre Moose DuPont, Bob Hound Kelly, R.S. Kindrachuk. What a name, R.S. Kindrachuk. Oh, yeah. Don Big Bert Zaleski, Tom Bladen, who once had a good game at, what was it, 8 points as a defenseman one game, but it was against the Golden Seals. Dave the Hammer Schultz, Terry Crisp, who would go on to win the cup as a coach with the Flames in '89. Jimmy and Joe Watson, Larry Goodenough, Ed Van Imp, known for his powerful hit, especially on Harlow in the '76 Super Series. Ted Harris, future former habitant, Bob Savoy, Serge Lajeunesse, and Jack McElharney. Here we go. First, by 4 minutes into the game. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Bobby Clark scores from Leach and Joey Watson, 1-0. And then much later, LA tries to take a shot but fails. Much later. Look at Chutskiers. Corrigan, the Corrigan Waterman. He scores from Whitting and Kanganser. Kitchener, 1-1. 2 minutes later. Look at Rivertown. Rifle. He scores from Barber and Kitchener. Lonsbury. 2-1. Much later. The Mac attack. 2-1 from Bobby Clark. Still going? Yeah. Well, the Flyers are up 3-1 after 20 minutes. 4 minutes later. Hammer. Who do we can score goals? Lonsbury and Clark with their second assist of the night. Much later, Philly killing the clock. Bill Barber. Oh boy. But they killed the son on Nevin and Corrigan. Much later. A fight. Ted Harris with a fight against Mike Murphy. Who knew Ted Harris could fight? It's Maloney for 2. Can the Flyers progress? You bet you can. Yours. Papa Panafuego. Billy Clement from Kindrachuk and Clark. Kindrachuk, Orland Kurtback. But Clark with 3 assists. LA says, fuck this, we're going with Gary Everts. 5-1 Flyers after 20 minutes. 2 minutes later. Here's a chance. Murdoch. What a stop by Clark. Mr. Perron. And a chance for Reggie Leach. No. Still no clock. Chance for Bladen. Clark gets hit. But it doesn't matter. The Flyers win 5-1. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Bobby Clark with 4 points. The only point he didn't get in was our second one with Leach from Barber and Lonsbury. So yeah, Flyers win 5-1. So we're off to a great start. Atlanta will beat California 4-1. Meyer over Simmons. Charlie Simmer was for the Golden Seals. I guess he was in a king yet. Ruminich, Leiter, Kurt Bennett, and Tom Lysiak for the Flames. Saturday night is all right for fighting. We host Buffalo. Washington, Minnesota. Washington wins 4-2. Bellevue Mirror with the win over Manigo. Duper, Cowick, Crisco, and Mike Morrison, who was the first overall pick by Washington, and he was black too. I think that was him. Was it? Yeah, Mike Morrison. Okay, I'll have to take a look. Yep, see? And he was black too. Told you. I know it when I speak. Minnesota goals by Henry Boucher with the mustache and the headband, and Bill Goldsworthy, Waterloo. LA Montreal tied. Edwards tied Dryden. LA was up 2-0, winning, and Komodowski scoring. Glenn Saver, yes, that Glenn Saver scoring for Montreal, and Steve Shutt. Kansas City will got shut up by the Islanders. It's Chico with the shutout. McDuff couldn't do anything. Harris, Westfall, and Davy Lewis. Remember him? Detroit, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins 5-2 as Innis beats Grant. Detroit goes by Michel Bergeron. Is that Michel Bergeron? Petit Tigre? And Marcel Dion. Yeah, with the Red Wings. Pittsburgh goes by Sean Proteville, Sil Apps Jr., Vic Hatfield, the former Ranger icon, Bob Hound Kelly, and John Proteville. Rangers Toronto would end in a 2-2 tie. Jackman and McRae with points. Ferguson and Sittler for the Leafs. Rattel and Nick Beverly for the Rangers. Vancouver beats St. Louis 4-3. Lockett beats down Johnston. Vancouver goes by Don Lever with a hat trick. And Andre Boudrias with the goal. Finally out of Golden Seal territory. St. Louis goes by Hess, Ace Bailey, and Ace Bailey. Yes, that's same, not the same Ace Bailey from the 30s, but the same Ace Bailey who died in 9/11. So we host Buffalo, and Birdie will come back in the net against Gary Bromley with Roger Crozier, tragic figure Jerry Desjardins, and Rocky Farr, your backups. For Buffalo, their players: Rick Matan, Rene Robert, Gilbert Perel, the French Connection, Don Luce, Kitchener, Rick Dudley, future head coach, Danny Gare, hell of the 14-second goal to start his career, Craig Ramsey, Jim Lawrence, Kitchener, Peter McNabb, R.I.P., but he was a pretty good color commentator, Jerry King Kong Korab, Brian Spinner Spencer, his story was very tragic, Shuzlan Guvermont, Bill Haight, Norm Gratan, Lee Falkland Jr., Larry Mickey, Jim Schoenfeld, have another donut, Larry Carrier, Paul McIntosh, Jerry Meehan, and Mikey Robitaille. So here we go. You want to see the game? A powerful hit. Much later. We deliver a hit to Rick Dudley. More time. Kozlowski, revenge? No. The government does not work out. And Bill Barber will force a penalty on Carrier to take advantage. Leach camp. That's for Kudrchuk. Fuck. Kudrchuk runs with 5. Garcia. A limited rifle. Second for the Town Kelly. 1-0. Flyers. Bill Barber can't take a shot. Come on, guys. Garcia. Oh my darling. Oh my darling. Oh my darling. Clementine. A second from Leach and Selesky. Big Bird with the assist. 4 more minutes. That's for Buffalo. McNabb. Oh. Yes, sir. Take another chance? No. Flyers up 2-0 after 20 minutes. Killing the clock. Liverpool rivals once again. Third second of the game. Dupont, that is, with his first assist of the game. Much later. From the Steelers, oh captain, my captain. I'm gonna know and Joey Watson 4-0. This game's pretty much over. Well, Buffalo will take a 5-minute major at Gilles Perreault of all people, so we can score as many times as we want. And Dornhofer scores Van Enden, Reggie Leach, 5-0. Wow. He's got 6 points in 2 games. I know Bobby Clark had a goal and 3 assists. 5-0. Still time. Yay! Go! Catch on the ice! Clark with the assist and just spins it up. Buffalo's not going to pull the goalie. That's it. Buffalo can't do anything. We shut them down 6-0. Only 2 penalties the whole game. And we didn't get penalized. So we win 6-0. Leach, Clement, Leach, Clark, Gordon, Dornhofer, Leach. Man, we are on fire. Sunday, we host Kansas City. Toronto, Boston. Toronto loses to Boston. Ross Brooks beats Doug Favell. That's right. No Jerry Cheevers. Boston's goals by Forbes, Walt McCagney, he was a Bruin, and Phil Esposito. Norm Ullman, the former Red Wing icon, and Earl Thompson scoring. LA Buffalo lost again 3-1 as Bromley loses to Edwards. The two teams we beat in this season had to face each other. King goes by Weiling, Williams at St. Marcel, Donnie Luce, Kitchener for the Sabres. Chicago beat Atlanta 3-2. Espo in the night against Bouchard. Atlanta goes by Jacques Richard, the guy who the Flames scored to the future on, but he was a fucking flame out. And Bobby Later. Chicago goes by J.P. Bordelot with 2, and Darcy Rota. Cali Detroit. Cali could not score. Maloche losing to Rutherford. Libet, Dion, Hamel, Jean Hamel, and Andy Grant. So we must be Kansas City. Birdie wants to play net. And he gets Michel Plas, who's the number 3 guy. I thought he would be the number 1 guy. But anyway, no. Peter McDuff, the number 1 guy. Really? And Eddie Heron, future Penguin icon. But yeah, got Michel Plas. Let's see who Kansas City has for their expansion squad. They have Simon Nollet, good, decent player. Wilf Paymont, who would wear number 99 with the Leafs, after being traded from Colorado to Toronto in the Lanny McDonald deal because Punch and Black fucking wanted to hurt Sittler. Robert Burns, Mr. Burns, excellent. Ed Gilbert, Randy Rota, Guy Sharon not playing for this team yet. The guy who had over 700 career games without making the playoffs once in his career. Len Powers, Rich Lemieux, Dave Hudson, Gary Courteau, Norm Dubé, Jim McIlroy, Bart Crashley, former King and W. Taylor, Clyde Hood, Butch Denmark's heads now, Gary Coulter, Brett Hughes, Dennis Patterson, Larry Johnson, Larry Giroux, Brian Leffley, Ken Murray, Doug Burr. Does it really ring hollow? And Kansas City, well, Burns whacks at Reggie Leach. Bad idea. Losing rifle. The step from Kinderchuk and Clark, which is on the middle. Be careful what you wish for, guys. Pluck and touring. Plus Lansbury from Salatsky and Big Bird, 2 minutes. 3 minutes later. For Simo Noe. You tried to score. Last moment. Oh my darling. Oh my darling. Oh my darling. Clement time. From Joe Watson. 3-0 Flyers. Right off the bat. 2 minutes later. Yours. Richardson rifle again from Bill Barber. Kitchener. 4-0 Flyers. 2 more minutes. Yours. Laid on a steal. Lays a steal. His first from Leach and Clark. This is 5-0. Class is being dumped out. Peter McDuff is coming in because why not? Stamina. McLeish thought he had it. And Murray slashes Leach. Just for Clement. He tried a second. And Reggie Leach couldn't do anything for his third. He almost had another hat trick. PK. Robin Burns for the second time. No shot by Leach. Chance by Leach. Jeez. And no shot from Hammer Schultz. Typical. There's action. Riverton rifle with action. Ted Harrison used this. 6-0. Wow. And the first team from Harper and Kinderchuk. 7-0. 2 minutes later, action. Robert Burns tries to score. Not happening. Agitated. Kansas City got agitated. Giroux takes the 2-minute call. Barber, come on, guy. Pepper goal. Is that his 4th? Leach from Jimmy Watson and Joe Watson. The Watson boys. Reggie Leach. I think that's his 4th goal. It's 8-0. We take a penalty. Hound Kelly. And they score! Claude Hughes from Crashley and McMurray. Damn it. Perron had back-to-back shutouts on his mind. And penalty. Lansbury. And another goal, no lay from Hudson and McLemurray. Damn it. There goes the one goal win. We got a penalty on the way. Can we get a power play goal? Clark? Oh. Third effort. There was 3 seconds left. He waited. 9-2. That's over. Holy shit. Perrant beats Plas. Leach, Lonsbury, Clement, Leach, Bladen, Leach, McLeish, Leach, Dornhofer. So Leach scored goals number 1, 4, 6, and 8. Wow. They took 5 penalties, and we got 3 power play goals. I want to know what our stats are. Yeah, sure, we're 3-0. We're the first team that won 3 games. All right, so we're 3-0. We've scored 20 goals and given up only 3. So we've scored 6.67 goals per game. Holy shit. Well, the Rangers have scored 16 goals in 2 games, but 14 goals were against the Capitals. But Washington has what Montreal has not had, a win. Buffalo hasn't won a game yet. Neither has St. Louis or Kansas City. At least Washington won a fucking game. 20 goals in 3 games. Well, we second best is the Rangers, but that was because they scored 14 against those pesky Rangers. Or those Capitals. Next up is Detroit with 10. So, yeah. Okay, so the 14th, no games. The 15th, Montreal Islanders tie. Montreal tied again. St. Louis beat Vancouver, gets a win. Washington beats LA. Adams beats Edwards. LA goal by St. Marcel. Dupre and Mike Marson. We're not playing yet. Buffalo, Chicago beat Boston. Atlanta beat Detroit. Vancouver, Minnesota tie. California and Rangers tie. And Leafs and Kings tie. We host Boston. Oh boy. Buffalo crushes Cali in the fine powder. Montreal still can't win a game. Washington loses to Chicago, but yeah, Montreal St. Louis tied. How the hell is Montreal playing tie a game? So we have to play Boston. I'm scared. I am actually scared of this team. But, it's just fate. Fate just has to do something with me. Hey, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.